So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to assemble the base. And I attempted to find a used Black & Decker workmate, just because at one point they were actually made in the States, and none of that stuff is made in the States anymore, at least that I can find. So we're going to put this together. So let me wiggle my nose, and it's done. The only issue we had, one of my feet was cracked. So when we put it on, it split all the way. Not a huge deal. The other little issue that we had was underneath here. We had to spread these out. They were too narrow, so we had to spread them out, which of course meant that the flanges weren't flat, and of course, so you had to straighten them up. So that was a little wonky. And then you have to kind of manhandle the cross braces to get them in. The holes on that side weren't exactly centered. They were just outboard a little bit, so it was kind of a pain to get those in. But you know, you beat it with a hammer enough and almost anything good can happen. So there's the base, and now we get on to other stuff. All right, so a couple of things that we're having to take into consideration. Number one, we're going to face the handles, the clamp handles, away from us, just because that will get them out of the way. This is a stand-in for a big piece of 2x8 that I've got hanging around that we're going to use as the base. This is what's going to get clamped into the stand. Now, what I'm going to use as a spacer is I've got a big non-pressure treated 4x4. That way, that's going to get my clamps out. Then I can affixate my flange like that, and with the boards that I'm going to use, which are actually salvaged from the basement, we'll have one on either side. And even with the carpet, that's going to give us about 5 1/4 inches of reach. And this is with just a 12-inch piece of pipe. Now, if we need to go deeper than that for some silly reason, you know, you spend $10 and you get a couple of pieces of 18-inch pipe, and you know, it's super easy to do that. All right, I've got my 4x4 cut to length. I've got my 2x6 cut to length. I've now marked where I am going to pre-drill holes for these nice big 3.5-inch screws so that we can hold these two together. There we've got one solid base to screw our pipe flanges to. So now we're going to make our back pieces. We're going to make this, we'll cut it out here so that this sits down about, I don't know, maybe about 1/3 or 1/2 of the way down there. And then we'll make one for both sides, and then we'll get some padding on the inside of this. I put the back part of this pipe clamp on, I've twisted the front part on, so now this goes in like that. Now I have to see who's in my driveway. All right, a couple of things about this. Number one, this is an issue, and by this I mean the top of this Harbor Freight stand, because this is just thin stamped metal. I'm going to use metal because it's generic enough that I think it might cover what that's actually constructed out of. And as you get weight put on it, then what happens, we'll see if we can get it to do that. See what that's doing? Then yeah, so this angles out. So that is an issue, because this is just fiberboard. If we replaced that with you know, like 4/4 you know, ash or poplar or something like that, it would probably be a little bit better. The underlying problem is just the thinness of the metal. The good thing is, since I have built this in this fashion, I can put it in my 6-inch Wilton vise, or I can put it in my other bench vise, and it'll hold it just fine. So what I've done is I have gotten some foam. You can get this from any upholstery store, a fabric store. So as I was saying, this is just upholstery foam, and I have gotten, I had 3 of these pine boards left over from when we did demolition in the basement. So now, if I have, let's say, an electric guitar or bass instrument, that will fit in very nicely in there. This is adjustable, so you can move this up, move your pipe clamps, put in whatever it is. If you want to work on neck, work on a headstock, you can do that. The other thing that I did was I had 3 of these boards, and I was able to fashion another one with a thinner set of foam on the front. So now I can get in a big acoustic with no problem. So you could just slide it in, close the clamps. Probably put some oil on that, don't you think? And then off you go. It's nice and solid. There's not a lot of hard pressure on different points, and hopefully that'll keep us from, well, doing what we originally needed to build this for, to keep from popping a brace off when we're doing another guitar. Give this contact cement some more time to set up. Anyways, so that's my homemade vise. I'm not telling you how to make one of these. I'm telling you this is what I made with stuff I had on hand and a few extra parts. If you've made one of these a different way, I would love to see it. Send us a picture, post it on our Facebook, any of that kind of stuff. I'd love to share, not just my way, but anybody else who's come up with something like that, a way to hold a guitar body, say if you're doing a neck reset, or if you're doing some sort of, you know, engraving work or whatever. We'd love to see that. Anyways, that's what's going on in the shop today. I'm James. You guys have a great weekend. Cheers.
Hey, if you like this episode of Rattlecan Guitar Restorations, you might want to check this video out as well. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, and if you'd like to help the channel grow, consider stepping over to our Patreon page and giving that a look. Y'all have a good weekend. Cheers.